New York City is actually crumbling. They're doing a pretty terrible job in terms of the migrant crisis. Like, New York City got in almost 100,000 people. What for? Why would they do that? It's like the main question right now for many upcoming voters in New York. People are kind of fed up. New York has always been the financial hub of the world. People buy real estate here. But now we're seeing many people who have money to buy real estate in New York City going to other places. People call Toronto the new Manhattan. People call Miami the South Wall Street. It's not looking good for New York City. They're going broke. They're spending billions of dollars on the migrant crisis, whereas veterans in New York City and many people who are homeless are just on the streets with barely anything. People are kind of really fed up. People are like, New York City could have just brought in 1,000 to 2,000 migrants, maybe 3,000 migrants, get them into the New York City society and family, but instead they took in like almost 100,000 people. It's still increasing every single day. Migrants are getting 40% more from the government-funded SNAP program than low-income Americans in New York City. What is SNAP? It's basically electronic benefits that could be used as cash to purchase food. So hold on a second. We got our own citizens on the streets of New York City who don't really have great food, who don't really have a place to sleep. New York is very, very expensive. Right? What about those guys? Like, are they getting any sort of funding? A little bit, but not as much as the migrants. Right now, the whole point in New York City is if you're a migrant, you get to New York City, you get free hotel, free food, and you also get a free prepaid debit card. But what if you're in New York City, you lose your job, you can't pay your rent, you're on the streets? Well, good luck, right? That's what New York City is going to tell you. In fact, people are so mad to the point that apparently the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, is actually slicing the migrant budget and actually prevented from the city budget from being slashed because so many people are kind of like up in arms right now. And look at this. New York City migrant families could be making up to $15,000 per year under the controversial $53 million prepaid credit card program. This is just the beginning. If you guys think that's a lot of money, well, just wait. Let me show you guys like the true scale of the pricing for the migrant crisis. This is a lot of money, guys. You know, there's a lot of people in New York who are pretty much getting pushed out their neighborhoods. They really need a place to stay. And they'll really appreciate it if the government will give them some kind of funding. You got people, especially veterans, sleeping on the streets of New York under bridges. You know, they'll really appreciate it if you gave them some money. But of course, it's only for migrants. And this is what brings up the new question of equality. How come domestic citizens don't get any sort of luxury benefits, whereas people outside of the U.S., they do? Another big thing about the New York City migrant crisis is New York just took in way too many people to the point that they're actually going broke. I'm not joking when I tell you that the price tag of this is crazy. Hotel in New York City closes and becomes a migrant shelter only for about $7 million a month. That's crazy. Imagine the veterans that are sleeping outside on the streets. And guys, this is one hotel. And Manhattan has 5 hotels that are doing this. And these are all very nice hotels in some of the best neighborhoods. And it's just Manhattan. We're not adding in the other shelters and other, hotels from the other boroughs. But look at this. $7.2 million just for the hotel. This is an insanely high price. And look at this. $2.4 billion is not enough for New York's migrant crisis. Mayor Eric Adams told state lawmakers in Albany that New York City needs $4.6 billion just to pay for half of its yearly costs related to the migrant influx. Hold on a second. Did you just say that the total migrant crisis was almost $10 billion? That's crazy. And this isn't like for like the next decade. This is for every single year. That's basically like 20 or 30 skyscrapers of construction every single year. I mean, New York basically just destroyed itself. They took in all these people and they still are. They're going broke paying for everyone. And it's going to get to the point where they're not getting any money. Guys, it's not me talking about this. The S&P Global Ratings says that New York City, Chicago, and Denver, especially New York City, is facing a massive budget crisis. They took in way too many people. It would have been fine if they took in maybe a few thousand. But when you take in almost 100,000 and you're telling me that one of the richest cities in the world whose GDP is higher than some countries is going broke, This isn't looking good at all. And look at this, guys. New York City not only is going broke, but loses $1 trillion in Wall Street businesses as firms flee. Now, one of the biggest things about New York City that's making a lot of people mad is the Donald Trump trial of $355 million. He is forced to pay almost $400 million. If he doesn't pay, chances are he might get one of his buildings in New York City seized. Kevin O'Leary puts it best. O'Leary said that it was a very common thing for real estate guys to build a building and take out debt on the building. That's literally the whole point of real estate. So what Trump did was he has a $400 million building. He takes out a loan, $200 million, and the small regional bank that he was working with agreed to it. The bank even said that they're willing to work with Trump. It wasn't like theft or anything, and banks are pretty smart. It was like a legit transaction, nothing super crazy about it. But apparently New York was very biased against Trump, and Trump was accused of fraud, and now he's forced to pay a crazy sum, which O'Leary said just makes everyone turned off by it. In fact, if this is how New York City deals with real estate developers, maybe every single company should just leave the city. Because guess how real estate and these skyscrapers are built? You take out loans on existing buildings and you build more. That's the whole point of investing in real estate. You just go into debt. That's really how it is. So it's not really looking so good for New York City. They're losing a bunch of money. Firms are moving from New York City to other cities like Miami. Like I said in the beginning video, imagine Toronto is called the new Manhattan. Not really looking so good. They have actually gotten a huge inflow of hedge funds. Same thing with Vegas. It's traditionally known as a gambling hub, but now there's even some hedge funds and tech companies over there. Even some fintech, surprisingly. Places like Miami, which traditionally has never been finance savvy, is now filled with financial hedge funds and big banks. Even Ken Griffin, CEO of Citadel, moved from Chicago to Miami because he feels like many of these sanctuary cities are extremely unsafe. Not to mention, they're spending cash like crazy, and they never focus on the crime rates. Miami crime is so much lower. Go to Brickell, downtown. Go to Miami Beach. It's actually clean. There is no homeless people on the streets. There's no tents. Crime is not safer. You got nice cars parked on the side of the streets. It's finally like a normal city without any crazy agreements or strings attached. This is why we're seeing New York City losing $1 trillion is very generous, because this article was written back in August 22 of 2023. Now New York is losing probably $2, $3, $5 trillion. Many of these funds are shifting themselves away from New York City to several other cities, not just in the US, but around the world. It's no longer the age where you have to go to New York City if you're doing banking business or finance. You could just do this over online, over Zoom. And many cities in the US are facing population declines and money fleeing, despite America having a humongous GDP growth and a big population increase. So these smaller, mid-sized cities and many of the southern cities are just doing so much better right now. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment below and see you later.